little girl, daughter, sister, girlfriend, fiance, wife, cousin, mother, auntie, grandmother, great grandmother, elder, disappears, shattering, a family, a community, the world. There is something we can all do. Remember them.
Go after, my friends, and welcome to Sporgsmo. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, we have a wonderful idea, a beautiful show that we touch on from time to time, and I think it's so important that we do. So, with no further ado, let's begin by saying talk. Talk, and thank you to all of you who have liked, followed, and subscribed us on any of the channels, including listening to us now live on radio station kwwp.org. Welcome to the family. I'm so happy to have you on board. And again, as always, I want to thank New Reality TV, newrealitytv.com. The friends and family that I have there offers us a plethora of perspectives on our spirituality, and certainly, hopefully, something that resonates with each and every one of us that helps us to kind of move forward in our spiritual evolution. I also want to call out all of our affiliates. I want to say thank you to them as well. Thank you so much for supporting the show. For those of you who would like to help us and get some goods yourself, by all means, please visit our storefront, which is located at akumedia.akoutlaw.com/store-front. And there you can see all of our products that we have, as well as locating all of our affiliates, all of the groups of individuals who have stepped up. And when you make purchases through their store, through that link, they provide some support for our show, and certainly for the nonprofit radio station as well. So visit them. You will not be disappointed. Trust me, there are wonderful things to be had, and I think you will be very happy. So check them out. Tonight we're answering a question that we are answering from time to time, and I really want to thank the sender and say, you know, what a wonderful question it is. Does spirituality and science conflict? Will they ever agree? And my friends, they do. They do quite often, as a matter of fact, and more frequently nowadays than probably any time in the past. We're seeing where quantum physics is actually explaining a lot of the spirituality that our ancestors adopted thousands of years ago, and how it does have a rhythm with the earth, and how we can connect to the land, and how we do connect with our spiritual entities as well as the deities above us. So there's a lot of connection that now is probably more so than, like I said, ever before. Certainly coming into its own for sure. So definitely worthy of checking out and being part of that whole connection. So now, what does it mean when we talk about spirituality and science kind of being at odds? Well, you have to remember that spirituality is the way and science is the method. So if we talk about, say, how does a tree live? The idea is the tree lives, and it lives because we know that there is a spiritual entity that gives it life, that provides for it the life force from the universe. The science simply follows that with ways to measure that. Right? And so we see it growing, we see the tree rings, and so we have a method of kind of proving this idea of what we've known all along, which is that the tree lives. So science and spirituality do indeed connect with one another. So we are trying, bear with me, we are trying each moment to make sure that we're broadcasting live on both radio and TV. So bear with me, we're learning as we go. And this thing is really struggling, so I'm wondering what's going on. But anyway, so we'll kind of play it as we go. So bear with me as I connect buttons, and that's what I do. I just start hitting buttons and seeing what happens. So the big trick here is understanding this connection between spirituality and certainly science, and so they are one and the same. So one explains the state, the place it is, and one explains in other forms, in other languages, how that happens. And more often than not, we are finding where, particularly quantum science, more so than probably most other sciences, are proving now a lot of this spiritual transition, a lot of the energies that move around the earth, that move through the earth, that move through us, that power us, that we then power others, and as well as providing those energies to manipulate our physical form and those physical forms of other people. So it's all kind of part and parcel as we learn more about how spirituality moves through particularly Midgard. So science, again, is simply the method, how it does what it does. So when we talk about will they ever agree, they do. They absolutely do. And don't confuse the languages. Now, this is probably one of the hardest things that many people struggle with when making a comparison between spirituality and science, is that they say, oh, well, they call it this, and they have this whole diagram and this, that, and the other. You're right, they do. They use a different language, and there's no difference than for those of you who may every Sunday go to church and worship the God Yahweh, or whatever you refer to him as, whether it be Yahweh, Allah, Buddha, whomever, right? And you are focused on that energy stream, whereas I refer to Odin, I refer to Frigg and Freya and Thor and Balder. All of these gods and goddesses are what I refer to, but are they the same for you? No, you're speaking a different language, and that's wonderful. It is what makes Midgard such a wonderful place to be, right? So don't think for a minute just because, oh, well, that old guy, he's a Norse. He believes in the Norse ways, the Celtic ways. However, do I disagree with Danu or Dagba? No, I don't. I don't disagree. It is a perspective at which we looked at a energy source, a deity, and referred to them in such a way that I could convey my beliefs, my understandings to other people, to others, whether they be, in form or not, whether they be seen or unseen, it matters not. So the idea that I simply refer to the gods and goddesses that I do doesn't make me any more this or any more that than anyone else. We're all one and the same, and we're all looking essentially at the same mountain. Okay? So if you think about your God as a mountain, and if you're standing on the north side looking south at the mountain, you see it one way. If I'm in the south looking north, I see it a different way. If it's standing to the east looking west, standing to the west looking east, and then you get into all the southeast, northwest, we can see the mountain from a multitude of perspectives. The same thing applies to those entities at which we refer to as the gods. Whatever you call him, whatever you call her, whatever you call them, it matters not. Okay? It's your intent, it's your conviction to that deity that matters. All right? So, simply different languages. So, science is no different than the difference between, say, monotheistic beliefs and polytheistic beliefs. Okay? They're different. They see a different perspective, and that's okay. And so science is simply another perspective. It's another way of looking at this. Is it any more right or any more wrong than anything else? No. No, and it should never kind of replace or superimpose on top of anything else. It's simply another perspective, right? So do they agree? Yes, they're actually referring to the same things. Do they, do they speak the same language? Do they sound the same way? Do they feel the same way? No, they're not going to, and that's okay. It's simply a different way, and that's okay. So the big thing to kind of take away from the difference between them is some people may have faith in spirituality. They may believe in their gods or the spirits of the lands or whatever. Okay? Some people may believe in the science. Okay? They kind of wind up at the same place, right? So just think of it that way. Think of science as simply another branch, another way of looking at our spiritual journey, at our spiritual interactivity, right? Now, drilling down further into the point, we are paranormal specialists, those people that are constantly looking at the spiritual entities and the spiritual sources, and they're developing methods at which to discover them, right? So they're looking at ways to clearly identify the energy sources that we're speaking of when it comes to things that the unseen, all right? And so as they develop those, and as quantum physics now begins to take, I think, is beginning to take much more of a lead in, is we're coming up with the theories and the testing methods at which to prove what we've known, those of us who have studied spirituality maybe our whole lives, have known all along, right? As we've communicated with the ancestors and allowed them to communicate with us, we've gained this knowledge, this wisdom, this guidance, this spectrum, if you will, of understandings. And now they're developing the methods at which their language now is being built. Okay, so they're building their language to match what ours has been for thousands of years. Okay, so just think of science as really as just another perspective at which to embrace an understanding of our spiritual journey, of our spiritual path. Just think of it as just another perspective. Do they disagree? Yeah, no, they don't. One, like I said, one is the state of being, one is we're here, and one is the methods at which to get there and to measure that, right? And so science is simply developing the language at which they can now describe what we've known, all right? So they don't disagree. So just a heads up, those people who think that, they're really butting heads, they're really not. Okay. Are there some people in, one community or the other who wants to just totally disprove the other? Yes. And those are individuals. Those are individuals who are trying, whatever methods they can to discredit the other one. But those are individuals. It's not as a whole, right? So spirituality as a whole realizes that scientific methods are necessary to prove to some people, right? They need a language that works for them. Okay? It would be very akin to explaining spirituality to somebody who wasn't very spiritual, right? They don't have the language yet at which to understand really what's being said. And so in this case, science is simply building that language so that they can understand what others have known for quite some time. So it really is just a matter of building that language, right? So they're not different. They're not separate. They're not butting heads. They're not, exclusive of each other by any means. But yet there are some people who are in one camp that says the other camp is just, trying to undermine and trying to, destroy what we know and yada, yada. Right? So you always have those individuals who are trying to prove the other one is inaccurate or, indescript. And you will always have doubters. I see them every day. People who doubt spirituality, they doubt, the existence of a deity. They don't believe in spirits. They don't believe in anything paranormal kind of. They don't believe in anything outside their little box. And okay, that's fine. That's your perspective. That's your life, right? That's your life's experiences that are driving that decision, okay? Does it make everyone else wrong? No. Does it make you wrong? No. Remember, and I always try to make sure I caveat any discussion when we talk about spirituality as a whole is no one's wrong in spirituality, right? Spirituality is big enough where we can include all the questions, all the intellect, all the everything, right? All of existence and then some, okay? So we really shouldn't worry ourselves too much about one disprove or another and this, that, and the other thing. Follow our hearts, follow our ancestors, and they will lead us home. And that is something that you can absolutely count on. So I've learned it very well over the last 60 years. So I can tell you that it is absolutely true that when you open your heart, allow your ancestors to guide you, you will arrive home, right? With the context that makes it matter, all right? So don't fear too much about that stuff. Worry more about, getting that right relationships with the land, with your kin, with the self, right? When you get those things, then, you really have an open communication channel from you now to the ancestors, to the gods, and they can now help you, guide you, move you along your evolutionary path. That's the key. So, big things happening there. All right, so in the big picture of things, we've talked about science in a way of just being a different language. We've talked about spirituality being the entirety of existence. Therefore, it was hard. The scientific language is building. It's slowly building out. Quantum physics and quantum sciences have really accelerated that, in that quantum sciences can look at things at a much more quantum level. So it makes it easier to have a language that goes with it. And so as quantum sciences builds out, quantum mechanics, quantum physics, quantum computing, all of these things begin to build out, what we're seeing is a language being built to help us, I should say, to help those who need that language to get to spiritual understanding, to their spiritual understanding, whatever that looks like. Because remember, everyone's journey is going to be different, right? So we can't judge and say, oh, yeah, no, that's just not the way it is. All right. I have to take a quick commercial break. When I come back, I want to talk about how you and I can use the understanding that spirituality and science is building and embrace both in a way that makes sense. Remember, our religion or our spiritual beliefs has to make sense in the mind, and it has to feel right in the heart. And when it does those two things, then we have some truth, some level of authenticity, some congruence that will lead us to our true spiritual understanding and certainly evolve us along our spiritual path. So let me take a real quick commercial break, and when I come back, we'll talk about just that. We'll be right back.
In the air. The time is now.
We're all waking up.
We're waking up.
We're all waking up.
It's all shifting.
New vibrations.
It's you.
It's you.
It's me. It's all of us.
Together.
A new time.
A new day.
A new energy.
A new energy.
New reality.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
NewRealityTV.com.
All right. Hey, welcome back, and thank you for taking that quick break with me. Again, I want to give a huge shout out to my friends and family at New Reality TV, newrealitytv.com, an excellent source for finding your spiritual journey. The plethora of perspectives there, with each individual being with nothing in their hearts but helping others to find their way, whatever way it takes. So plenty of different perspectives to resonate and align yourselves with. Again, makes sense, feels right. That's the answer. And so plenty of opportunities to do it there at New Reality. So check them out, newrealitytv.com. You will not be disappointed. Okay, so we've talked about science, we've talked about spirituality, we've talked about the language, we've talked about how these two are technically in alignment with one another. One is simply developing a language to explain the other. So it's like a translator, if you will, for some who may need that language, that understanding. And is there anything wrong with it? Absolutely not. So it's just the way it is. Now, what about you and I? Well, we're spiritual beings, right? And we've learned through years of practice, of years of study, of years of understanding, we've learned what spirituality is. I mean, at its core, we're spiritual beings ourselves. So we may know intimately what spirituality is. But think about the way that you would explain your spirituality, your spiritual beliefs. How would you explain that then to someone else? If you had to explain it to a friend or someone who has a different belief than you do, how would you do that? What language would you use? Science is a way to do that. Typically, or specifically for people who do not subscribe to our spiritual understandings, our spiritual beliefs, we would use science. We could use science to explain our spiritual pathways, right? And we could do that. That's a language. It's a translator of spiritual to non-spiritual, I guess, to secular, I think they call it. So certainly a methodology at which we could use to explain that which we believe and know. Okay. As an example, many people come to me and say, "Oh, well, how do you explain the 9 realms of Norse legend and lore?" And I tell them, that's easy. If you look at the tree Yggdrasil as being the center tree of the universe, and you think about the top and the bottom of the trees, you know, there's the heaven and hell. It's very similar to monotheistic beliefs, right? Heaven and hell, they're called something different, right? Because we have a different language. So we have Asgard up top, and we have Helheim at the bottom, and there they are, right? And then the other realms, Jotunheim and some of the other ones, these are more or less states of mind. So the giants of Jotunheim, they were bad, ish. The perception was they were bad. But we all have giants in our lives. We face giants every day. We face challenges every day. Something comes up, something that's sometimes very substantial in our lives. That's a giant. Okay? So it's a state of mind. It's a state of challenge. Thor spent quite a bit of time in many of the sagas defeating the giants, defeating his challenges that lied before him. We do it every day. Okay? Dark elves, black magic afoot. Well, okay. Think about how magic or those pesky elves get into our lives every day, right? Creating some kind of new policy or new standard operating procedure in your office or your workplace that doesn't make any sense, doesn't lace up with anything else. That's the influence that's the challenge, that's the influence that we're facing. And in the books of the sagas, they refer to this as the dark elves. Now, what about the dwarves? The dwarves, they were magical. But what do they bring us? Well, they bring us tools. The dark elves, or not the dark elves, past that section, the dwarves made magical tools for the gods to use. Well, they make magical tools for us to use. We have this really cool tool called the internet. Again, we have to look at, instead of looking at them as actual beings, could I run into a dwarf? Sure. Would they be magical from, the lands within Yggdrasil? No. Chances are not. The dwarves within Yggdrasil were simply that. They were states of mind. And they were hardworking. They were diligent. They made excellent products. And they provided tools for the gods. The hammer of Thor, the spear Gungnir for Odin. So they did quite a bit throughout the sagas. So, again, a super, super big value. So, it's simply a language that we're using to explain scientific, or we're using to explain spiritual beliefs and understandings. That's it. Don't think of it as undermining your spiritual beliefs. Think of it as supporting it, right? Well, science proves there is no God. No, science has never proven that. Well, science proves that ghosts aren't real. No, science never proved that. They came to a conclusion based on the limited tools that they had to test with, but their methods were flawed. Right? So, again, don't look at science as disproving spirituality. Look at science as providing a different language to explain spirituality. Think about it. My friends, I very much appreciate, and what a wonderful question, by the way. Thank you so much. Your shirt, wait, arrow. There we go. Your shirt is on the way. We will get that in the mail to you very, very, very soon, probably tomorrow morning. For those of you who may have a question, right there's the magic button. Go to akoutlaw.org, all the way to the bottom, big orange circle, and you can blip on that. If I make a show out of your question, I'll send you a free shirt too that you can keep and hang on to for as long as you'd like, or give it to a friend. You never know, right? Free gift, and you don't have to buy, you see what I'm saying? So, they're great opportunities. So check them out by all means. Check out my website, akoutlaw.com or akoutlaw.org. There you can get to the button. Ask a question, we'll get it answered. Again, as always, either here on Sports Mall or on Belly Sneak in the morning, for those of you who join me each and every morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, every morning at Alaska time. You're always welcome to join us in chat, and you can ask your question there. And if I do make another show out of your question out of chat, again, I'll send you a free shirt. So ask those questions. Get those out there, and let's put it to use. All right? Let's use the internet as a tool. The dwarves gave it to us. Let's use it. So I wish you the very best Wootens Day. I hope that everything goes your way, and that you're getting the right energy to rejuvenate, heal, to grow, to evolve into the best version of you. So I wish you the absolute best. We will see you bright and early tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock Alaska time, as we involve ourselves in another adventure of for felling this belly snake. Wow. Sorry, that was a moment. Senior moment. The beard, it's talking to me again. But join us then, and we'll go on another adventure of learning, loving, and growing. Have a wonderful Wootens Day, and we will see you again bright and early tomorrow morning. Love and light, my friend.
Been watching for Felina's Belly Snake, a special production of Whispers of the Norse. Brought to you by the Alaska akulfhednar in South Central Alaska. Guidance and wisdom, courtesy of an ancient Celtic Norse shaman. Thank you so much for joining us today.